Hello, universe!
Hello, universe. It's good to see you as always.
Yes, we missed you last week, all of our friends.
But we're back, better than ever, healthier than ever, and we're excited to have an incredible human being join us today.
Oh, yes, we are. Yes, and we got to speak with them yesterday, and it just got us extra excited for the time we'll share together today. And while we wait for our most beautiful friend to join us, we just want to share our hopes that everyone watching here in this present moment and in whatever moment you are watching this in are well and feeling abundant here at the end of the summer. And we also have some really beautiful projects starting to unfold for the fall, which we can't wait to tell you about. And if you don't already, follow United We Om at United We Om. And you can also pop over to our website anytime, unitedweom.org, to register for our newsletter so that you can have your finger on the pulse of all of the really special things that are starting to roll out.
United We Om version 2 in the new COVID world we exist in. So figuring it out. All right, here comes our friend.
Yeah, we do want to join.
Now we wait the internet to do its magic.
Elyce.
Thank you, Zuckerberg. There we are. Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Fantastic.
Great.
Good. Yay.
I don't know. Elyce, before we get all excited, and it's okay because this is part of what I want to say. Before we get all excited and we start like, how are you? Let's talk. First, I just want to honor the fact that I believe you, as well as I and Matt, are in the mountains of various descriptions, right?
Yes.
Where does the world find these days?
Central Pennsylvania. We're in a town called Coburn.
And what brought you there?
This camper.
All right.
And we have this camper and we're out on traveling adventures. And so this is one of our favorite spots. We have a friend who owns this property. He built a house here, lives completely off grid, and
Beautiful.
we come up here and just hang out on this. It's like the most extraordinary property, just out in the middle of nowhere.
Gorgeous. That's fantastic. So what brought your friend to this off-grid lifestyle?
He bought this property 40 years ago. He's a retired retired from the Air Force. He's a former forest ranger, and he found this property and built the house that he lives in. Lives completely off grid, like solar,
Incredible.
Pumps water, has a windmill. And we found him through camping. There's a website, actually, it's called Boondockers Welcome. And we like to boondock, go, without off grid, no hookups. And it's like an Airbnb for campers. And so you go, and so we were like, yeah, Central Pennsylvania. Okay. And we found him and we were like, hey, could we come and stay at your property? And we came and we just became like great friends. And so he just welcomes us up anytime we want to come, when we want to come all the time.
Yeah, sure.
That's awesome. What got you into boondocking? Are you a camper? Is it just a desire to get into nature and really like spend some time in a way that it's even hard to in national parks?
Yeah, so pretty much all of the above. We have this camper and we outfitted it with solar, and we have a very big water tank. We have a compost toilet. So we're really self-sufficient. We could go, probably about like 5 to 7 days without anything. And then we'll have to go into town and replenish the water. And, but the solar, if there's sun out, we're golden. We're good to go. We don't need to ever have electricity. We don't have air conditioning and we don't have a microwave, but the camper comes outfitted with both. But it's 90 degrees and we're in the shade and we have fans and we're good to go.
Yeah.
So, and then we both just wanted to travel and get out of Long Island and just kind of go around and see different places, meet people. And But we're really remote a lot of the times, just in places like this. Yeah, we'll go into a forest. We don't like campgrounds. That like
Yeah.
the spaces are really close, and we don't need
Yeah.
the hookups.
Yeah.
So like we were in Florida for 2 months, and like a horse farm. We just went into this equestrian center. We were like, "Hey, you got any spots for us?" And they were like, "Yeah, out there in the field." We were like, "Okay." And we went, we rented the space from them. And there were horses, you know, there was like jockeys training in the center. And I'd be teaching my classes out on the lawn, and they'd be passing by in their little, you know, jockey things with the horses. And it was great. So that's the kind of place we want to be.
Seeking
So,
adventure.
yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much
Well,
living
we have some
simply.
other.
Yeah.
Mm,
That's beautiful. You mentioned the no air conditioning, and that's something we have here, and it's really changed our little world. You had read an article, I think it was about Woody Harrelson, right? And this sort of like desire we have to live in this thermo-neutral, and that our bodies were just never designed for this. We're designed to take these
Hmm.
extremes on, and how comfortable you can become very easily
Yeah.
being in 90 degrees if you're just sitting there in the shade, and you're
Hmm.
not going forward with this sort of endless cycle of suburban existence.
Yeah. And it feels really good just to be
Yeah.
outside all the time.
Yeah,
mm.
indeed.
So, yeah, I like that.
Well, we did it. We jumped
I
ahead.
know,
We
Elyce.
jumped ahead. We knew we would because we're excited to see you where you are
Yay.
and hear about where you are. But and I already now, as I told you I would, have 5 million questions I want to ask you floating around in my mind. But before we go any further, I want to take a moment to say, Matt and I have admired you and the journey woman that you are in life, in meditation and yoga and practice for so many years, as I know so many other people that are blessed to know you from pre-COVID when we would all be in person together. And now here we are all kind of like expanding out a little bit, able to know each other from a little farther distance. And I know more and more people will be totally blessed by you and what you have to offer. We're so grateful that after all these years of eyeing you from the side, we get to all work together now under the umbrella of United We Own. And I also, and Matt also want to make some space for you to tell the world, who are you, world?
Wow, who am I? I'm
Right.
really simple. I'm just I'm just me. I'm a yoga teacher. I am the most inspired by my meditation teacher, Lauren Roche, who has turned my world into this completely tactile, open, natural, beautiful existence through his teachings of instinctive meditation. Opened my eyes, opened my skin, opened my soul to a way of seeing things in a completely different way. It's a movement from the heart, and I feel like I was initially taught by Shiva Ray, who was my one of my first asana teachers, and she also infused this. I know, Jenny, you and me. Infuse this feeling of this bhavana, this blossoming feeling state of opening to everything inside you and all around you. But Lauren furthered that. He deepened that for me. And so I feel like every single yoga class that I teach is inspired by that, by the beauty of language, the beauty of sounds, the beauty of instincts, the beauty. Just there's so much beauty. Even our anger and even our grief is beautiful. Everything is a teaching. And I feel so inspired by that because it has allowed me to embrace my normally would seem, oh, okay, we're in meditation, we're going to push all that stuff away, but rather I want to be with it. I want to feel it. I don't want to stuff it down. I did that for a long time, and it caused a lot of pain. And I feel like it's better to experience the pain when it comes in,
Mm-hmm.
and feel it and let it express itself, and it's okay. It's part of life to experience it, not to cease the mind, not to shut down, not to sanitize, but to experience it all. I'm so appreciative of that. And it's what I teach not only in my yoga classes, in my movement classes, in my meditation classes. It's what I live, it's what I breathe, it's what I eat. I mean, this is the book.
Mine is sitting right over there. I share your
yeah.
love of this translation of the Vijnana Bhairava Tantra, and you know, like when hit pause, zig over to Amazon, and type in the Radiance Sutras, and I don't know, it looks like Elyce lost the cover.
Here's the cover.
Oh, there it is.
This is the cover. Lauren Roche, he's the author.
Yeah. Isn't it really interesting to you, perhaps, as it is to me, that when we started researching and wondering about how yoga and meditation could be supportive in like a trauma impacted environment, which could mean, like a specific community impacted by trauma, or every human being walking around who, when we all sit down and talk to each other, can all really discover that we've all had those moments or chronic stress and anxiety. There was a feeling I had of like, oh, we have to invent something new. We have to find out how to adapt these practices. And then every time I go back to a root text like the Vijnana Bhairava Tantra or Hatha Yoga Spandakarika or Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, it's all there. Like you were saying, this idea of not avoiding, things that rise up and not trying to press them down or forget them. I feel like there's this big chorus happening right now about like not sanitizing our experiences or being good vibe only individuals. And I love that it's so easy. All you have to do is pick up the Bhagavad Gita or any of those. It's all right there. They were already there, right?
So true, Jenny. And I think that that's one of the things that that drew me so close to this text, was that it explores full range of motion. I mean, I have a lot of them that are my favorites, but some of my favorites that I use in grief practices or trauma practices are: you are stunned, powerless. You thought you knew what was going on. Now you realize you don't have a clue. That's one of the sutras. That's one of the sutras in here. The other one that I love, secrets are hidden in darkness and lonely nights. You wake up in the middle of the night with a pang of aloneness. It's the darkness, and it's calling you. There's a word, actually, Vijnana Bhairava, the word Bhairava, it actually means an aspect of consciousness that accepts your terror and fear and pain as prayer. That's one of the definitions of Bhairava. And if you go into meditation with that, when you're feeling crazy, anxious, filled with anxiety, filled with some kind of traumatic moment, yeah, right? Doesn't it make you want to cry? Hello. You go in to Bhairava, to that aspect of yourself, the aspect of your consciousness that receives your terror, fear, and pain as prayer. I don't, there are no more words.
I mean, that's incredible. And it's also, it's very profound. And I feel like for somebody who's a little simple-minded like myself, that can be a very tough concept to grasp. And obviously both of you have put in just years upon years of study and aiming for these larger roots of what the Sanskrit means. So where can someone like myself start? Where is the place? Because my whole life I've been taught to avoid all of those things, right? From death to any sort of suffering or pain. So where can I begin as somebody who's just your average dude trying to make his way in the world and experiencing this, of course, spectrum of emotion that we all are experiencing? What's something that we can do? What's my first step on that journey?
It's such a good question. And I believe that the most important thing that I feel you could do is to welcome yourself. Welcome yourself exactly as you are. Even say the word, I welcome myself. And then whatever you're going through at that particular moment, I welcome my anxiety. And that's a broad, like open thing. But then you can get more specific. Like, I welcome the part of myself that screams in traffic or whatever. I welcome the part of myself that hates my extra 5 pounds. I welcome the part of myself that gets angry at my father. You know what I'm saying? You can start to say these things and
Yeah.
say them slowly. Say, if you're coming to a practice where you're feeling a lot of anxiety, name it, but don't push it away. Don't think that at any moment it's not part of your practice. Even taboos can be part of your practice. Stuff that feel like, why am I feeling like sexy in Shavasana? Like, welcome it. It's okay. Why should we push that away? I'm
Yeah.
feeling like I want to kill that person. Okay, feel it. Feel it. Doesn't say to go act on it, but why can't you feel the way that you feel?
And again, it's so interesting
I
because
love that. That was very helpful, by the way. I just love that idea of starting very general, you as this totality, and then moving more to specifics and dealing with those ones that you don't want to look at. Because I'm 100% with you. When I let myself get just washed over by whatever I'm dealing with, it passes. But if I put up any sort of a wall or a barrier, it remains. It just continues to hit that wall, and I do too. It's right in the forehead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah.
You were saying. Go ahead.
I just wanted to reflect again that, everything that you just expressed as, guides all of us with United We Own that seek to share practice in spaces, where there is a lot of the spectrum of human experience and emotion. Everything that you just expressed are things that we hope to, for people to know that we mean when we say, like, come as you are. I love you however you are here today, whether that means you're going to sit in the corner and not make eye contact with me. Like, I still love you and you're still here with us, or whether that means today you need to tell me how angry you are about something. And, there's this root to how we exist with each other, that I feel is sometimes easy for me and maybe some others to do, but to turn that towards ourselves. To hear the way you described that, it reminds me that at the root of any work that any of us can do is our own relationship with our own self. I think it was you that said one time that finding belonging with yourself was a moment for you in the work of sharing practice with others, that you had to believe that you belonged in yourself first in order to be a part of belonging with anybody else. And that's to me what you're describing, and how many of us completely avoid that, right? And just focus out on other people, fixing other people, helping other people.
Yeah, it's about inclusivity. And it's such a hot word, I feel like, right now, being inclusive. And if we are looking to be inclusive out here to everybody else, why wouldn't we be looking to be inclusive to everything, the whole cast of characters in here? And there are a whole cast of characters.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
I feel that in a real way. It was something I struggled with for a long time, the many different sort of dynamics of me and all the ways I wanted to express myself. And it wasn't until I started to feel like I wanted to accept myself to belong that it no longer felt fragmented. It started to feel like a cohesive whole. And I used to always feel like I wanted to belong wherever I was. That's why I felt for a long time, I think we really pursued this idea of you needed to have that direct one-on-one for United We Own to really work. But it was always those people who belong with themselves, who were able to belong in any room. And that's whenever I look at the big boys, and I say that as like male, female, whatever, it's like the top tier spiritual leaders, they can be anywhere. They can be with anybody because they are so comfortable right here with themselves and just feel that divine connection all the time. So I love it because
Yeah.
what you're talking about is what I'm trying to do, which you're obviously doing all the time, which is it's all your practice.
Yes.
And I think that's so incredible because whenever you hear people start talking, you're like, she's doing the good work. That's what this is becoming, right? It's like the whole thing is your yoga practice all the time.
It is. It's living and it's teaching. They're one and the same. They're not separate.
Yeah.
So
So,
yeah.
so how has that evolved for you with all that's going on in this world? Because we're trying to figure that out on a daily basis. Like, what is yoga going to look like as a business, as a
how is it a
practice?
how is it also a tool for, our healing, through what we're all experiencing together?
Yeah, I think it's a big question. And I think it's about exactly what we were just talking about It's about addressing yourself. Can you hear me? Because he's on his tractor mowing the lawn over there.
Oh, awesome!
That's all right.
Do you hear that?
Will grow in a second.
You don't hear it at all? It's very loud here. But okay. So he's back there.
Let's see the tractor. Yes!
So so living the practice, again, I think the base foundation, if we just want to get really to the simplest point, is everything that we just said. I don't think it needs to be any more complicated than that, but to welcome, to accept yourself. And once you can do that, I feel, because I just from my own personal experience and from what I see from my students and clients, is once you start accepting yourself, it gives you it gives you this base for other things, for not being so reactive, for not being so divisive. Is that the word that I'm like, separate from other people? Like, you like that, but I like this, so we can't be friends. Like politically, this is such a big deal. With a lot of issues with the COVID vaccine, it's like there's so many things that can separate us. And if we just look at ourselves as human, like, why do we have to choose a side? Like,
Yes.
Why? Why do we have to? And if you can come from that place, I feel like it shifts a lot of things. That just, you look at each other, we look at each other as human. We don't look at each other as you like that and I like this, that you do this and I do that. We're just human. And
isn't that really what you just said, a core principle concept of yoga, a non-dualistic concept? The Radiant Sutras itself is this conversation between, consciousness and, manifestation, the full spectrum of everything from, like you were expressing, from life and death to pleasure and suffering. This idea of yoga, says very clearly that we can't assign anything. This is good, this is bad, this is right, this is wrong. We are all it, all of us. It is all that is. And I feel very troubled when I see the yoga community being asked to do things such as take a stand for X or try and convince people of Y, whatever that is. Because to me, we lose then what it is that we're all seeing here, finding in each other and ourselves, which I don't think we could say anymore other than, like, we are all it and we are all that. Like, nobody lands outside of the container of this, right?
Well, yes, that's very true. But I, for whatever reason, I feel that it's becoming more divisive, and I experience it with close friends. I mean, I have always sort of admired about myself that I had a really wide range of friends, from like really right wing to really left wing, and all in between. And even the news sources I've chosen I choose for that reason. But for whatever reason, it's like it seems that people are becoming more and more and more on one side or the other, and it's become so dichotomous. It's almost difficult to have the conversations people, I think social media and things have a lot to do with it, but it's this echo chamber that you get in where whatever opinion you have, all media, all friends now must reinforce this opinion, and or it's wrong. And it's just a way that we're not going to move forward. We're not going to grow. It's the open-mindedness of starting with like, well, I could very well be wrong. What do I know? I know we seem to just have lost this of like, I mean, we are really just like a monkey, right? We're like kind of a hairless primate trying to figure this all out. And suddenly we all seem to just we know everything. And I thought that the Afghanistan thing was a really interesting moment where suddenly we went from people who are suddenly like medical experts on either side to now they're like war correspondents and they have foreign policy experience. And I find it really fascinating how suddenly everyone seems to be very right and unable to hear anyone else's opinions. And so I'd love to hear what your thoughts about it, because I can't explain it. It's just like more and more and more. Any thoughts? Help out my little brain.
Beloved soulmate. Beloved soulmate, jump into the center. Jump into the center. Sukha, dukkha, right? It's the sukha is the ease, the dukkha is the dis-ease. Just jump into the center. I mean, I feel like I can't, because there are so many different opinions. I'm one of those people, and I don't watch the news. I can't. I get my news by Pony Express, I always say. It'll come to me. I'll hear it eventually when I need to. But I just feel like we need more people who move from the space of the heart. I feel like the news is going to happen. The media is going to talk. People are going to talk. Stuff is going to go on. Yes, it will. There will be suffering. There will be pain. Maybe inside of you, all around you. Yeah. But can we move from our heart? Can you move? Can you be in a place of like, and still be able to move from your heart? Like that's again, I just go back to it. Welcome yourself.
Yeah.
I just feel it's so simple now, but because our world is so big and so complicated, it becomes complicated. And we need to strip back and get back to the simple. Get back to our hearts. Get back to nature. Shut off the devices and go outside.
Yes.
Amen.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about Elyce and nature. Yesterday I was listening to Ram Dass speaking about the Bhagavad Gita, and he talks about the journey into the jungle, and he says at some point in your life you may too seek to go into the jungle, and you can see how that comes about for you and what that's about. And there's so many too. I'm so interested, like many United We Om teachers and community members that are also have like in this last year and a half really gone out like into wilderness, into nature. What is there for you? What has your moment out into the jungle been for you, and what have you learned from it?
Simplicity, not needing so much. I still have my apartment back in Huntington, and every time I go back, it's a tiny little one-bedroom apartment. It just feels gigantic. We're living in this 150 square foot tiny trailer that has everything. It's got a bathroom, and it's got 3-burner stove and an oven. It's got a double sink. I got a queen size bed. It's all in there, And then, when I do come back, it's like, why do I need this many yoga pants? What are all these things all over my shelves and my counters? And why do I need, 3 kinds of mustard? Or, it's like, it just feels so much better to just have what you need. And I feel like sometimes I live in this double life, because I do come home for a month or so at a time, and then we come back out, and it's like, okay, so I still have all this stuff, and I even still have the apartment, which almost seems like it's excess, but I do like having a home base. And so, okay, back to the question of what do I find here? I find simplicity, and I find nature, and I love just being outside and connecting and not needing to do anything else except appreciate.
Mm.
I love it.
Appreciate.
It's just, I love simplicity because there's so much complication in everyday life. And I think the simpler that we can make things for ourselves, the better.
I feel very called to the simplicity. I agree with you deeply. I think it's something that's missing because I think our ancestors, not even very far back, had a far more simplistic life. And I think it was far more satisfying to have a core group, a small community that you were an intricate part of, that you felt needed no matter what age you were, no matter where you were. There was a value I never felt that in the Long Island, or not Long Island, it has nothing to do with that area, but just that sort of like the suburban sort of culture that we're all sort of like, this is what you want. You need to have your little square of yard. And yeah, I'm with you on the simplicity. Death has been a huge one for me with nature. It's everywhere. It's all the time. We see death every time I go take a walk. I'm stepping over dead animals or whatever that is. And that was avoided at all costs. I mean, death is just put away, and it's been wonderful for my children. I tell you, we watched a snake eat a frog the other day, and this little garter snake caught a frog, and then you saw the frog, and it just slowly went into the snake, and my kids were so fascinated. And I think just a year ago would have been horrified, but instead it was just the most natural thing in the world for them. In fact, they named the snake Snacky, which I just think was snacky because they was eating a frog. And
oh my God!
It goes back to exactly what you're saying. It's a simplicity that there's a life. I'm living this life. I'm a very small part of a very large whole, and this is totally going to end. And it's just the most simple thing in the world, right? Just this cycle that is happening, and also, of course, birth and life. I mean, everywhere we look, the spring. There's eggs everywhere. Every insect is laying eggs everywhere you can find right now. And they do it without ever having a moment of anxiety or stress. I'm envious of their simplicity because it's not a challenge, right? Simplicity is somehow a challenge for me.
Yeah. Well, because nature, it's just, nature is not judging itself. Nature is not in a state of drama when something happens. I mean, I've had 2 3-legged dogs.
That's so smart.
2 3-legged dogs. The leg comes off, the leg is amputated, and there's no drama. It's like they just go on. They run, they play. You wouldn't even know that they have 3 legs. They adapt. Nature adapts. We just take so much longer. We add in so many layers of stuff. And I remember Eckhart Tolle talking about this. It's like nature, it's like the isness, I-S-N-E-S, the is. It just is, the isness of things. It's just why do we layer all these things on? We're just, that's our human nature, right? But if we could look at nature, that's actually, I taught my yoga class this morning about that, inner nature and outer nature. That was the theme of my class. Like you look at a tree and you see all of its like weird bark and all these, stuff that's peeled off and stuff that's green and it should be brown, or stuff that's brown and it should be green, and it has some pock marks, and some woodpecker came over and pecked it, and some branches are all gnarled, and you look at it and you're like, my God, look at that tree. It's beautiful. And like how long that tree has been here and how amazing. And then we look at our own bodies and we're like, ugh, gross, this skin. Like, what is this? Like, I need to get this removed, please. It's like, what? Like, why can't we have as much appreciation as we do for that gnarled, weird tree that some branches have leaves and some don't? And we look at our own bodies, these like perfect human specimens, and we're like, oh, like nature teaches us that every imperfection is beauty. What is perfection even?
Right. Because in nature, a lot of times it's the ones that are the most twisted and gnarly that are the most beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that about the mountains. It's oftentimes it's most beautiful when it's most haunting, when the fog, when the cloud has come in to
Yeah.
settle, and and there's a beautiful mystery about that. I love that, and
Yeah.
I deal with it all the time. I'm amazed at how many things that I look at on myself that I don't care for. But if it was somebody, but even another human, I would find it.
Yeah. Right? Like you don't notice the little zit on your friend's face when but in your own mirror you're like, oh, look at that, right? It's like, no, you would never call that out on somebody else. You'd be like, you're gorgeous as you. I didn't even notice it, right?
Yeah.
Very
So
much.
we just again, it goes back to the foundation. Welcome yourself. Include yourself. Why are you not including that part? And it's hard. I know it's hard. I practice it all the time because I'll see myself being critical or judgmental of myself. And I go back to it. I go back to it again and again and again.
Beautiful.
Love it.
And, in this year of so much change, and you have, been somebody that I've witnessed really initiate more change, welcome more change, which I think for many humans is really challenging and scary, when things change, particularly if things feel like they're not all in our control, because nothing is really under control ever. Where do you derive your strength from? What is it, what practices or what, places do you take yourself to find that steady center that allows you to shift and morph and let go of and welcome unexpected and all of that you really have this year?
I think one of the things is slowing down and grounding. So strength from that. Again, I just feel like some of these things just seem so simple, but when I was diagnosed with cancer 2 years ago, that was the one thing that Lauren said to me. He said, slow down and be early for everything. Lie down on the ground. And those things, they ground me. Lie down on the ground and slow down. Because I think a lot of, like, I know myself, I get myself into a frenzy and I do tend to be late to things. So being more spacious with myself really helps. And
Sounds amazing.
again, it's not, big practices. And then of course there's my kids. Don't your kids ground you?
Sure.
Yeah.
So
They also lift me.
Ours are quite
right.
little. Yours
How old are your kids?
6.5 and just turned 9. So
Oh, wow.
little.
I feel your exuberance. I can only imagine how exuberant your kids are, just from the energy you guys have. I could just feel them in you guys. So
They're
it's
special little
beautiful.
creatures. They're both
Yeah.
tapped in their own way. I mean, my son is just, his empathy is unbelievable. He's like an empath, and our daughter, who knows? Like,
No, she's Durgama.
she is like, she got a line like you wouldn't believe, and it's gonna manifest in some cool way. Like, she could be anything from like a UN delegate to a game show host. I don't know where she's going, but she is a tapped in.
Kali.
Oh yeah, I watch her even from when she spoke very young,
6 months,
freakishly young, and very adorable. She looks very tiny always. And I remember we were at Panera on a road trip to Maine or something, and she's this big, and she's sitting in the little booster seat, and this older gentleman saw her through the window.
Very nice guy. And
saw her and like made eye contact with her and was like, and she turned and went like
a
this.
Grandpa, happy, he's excited.
He came right over to the table and he said, well, hello, can I say hello to you, little girl? And she turned to Matt. What do you think she was, 9 months old?
She's young.
She said, Daddy, tell the man no. She was just like, this is a boundary that I'm uncomfortable with, and I got no problem telling you, no, you may not address me this way anymore. And I thought, like, wow, I wish that I had a little more of that, you know, I wish I had more of that.
Wow.
They are our teachers, children. Let's talk about it.
So much.
We talk about reincarnation. I don't know if you've had this experience, but having two children with the same partners raised in the same house and seeing how upon emergence into their physical world, even in your belly, they have their own wiring, they have their own fears and their own things and strengths they come in with. And for me, it was just, for both of us, it's just been that moment of like, okay, it's obvious to us now, like some other energy has come in here with you. You're here for something. Did you have that experience?
With my kids?
Yeah.
I feel like,
life?
yeah, I feel like being a mom, I feel like is a totally extraordinary experience because like sometimes you see yourself in them. And it's like, wow, you know, it's like when you see your mom and yourself, like I'll be like, I just sound like my mother, you know? But then sometimes it's like you're so far removed. I'm so like full spectrum further away from either, you know, my kids or my mom. And it's like, yeah, like you're your own person. And so it's pretty amazing. But I feel like there's just like that mama thing or a papa thing, I guess, too, right?
No,
when you look at your kids.
Mama is different.
Oh, there's just something that I just feel like they're like, I feel them. I feel like I love my kids, like, you know, and mine are full grown. I mean, my daughter's going to be 30 next month and my son's 27. They're adults. They're like full on in their own lives, human, you know, but it's like, they still like, you know, yours are 6 and 9, but I will imagine that you will feel the same way when they're full on adults. I feel them. It's like an inner radar or something to them, like something that I'm always, I will never like cut the apron strings. Like, as far as I'm concerned, they'll always be a part of me and I will run to them if they ever need anything from me. There is that mama bear thing. Talk about Durga. I mean, I feel it fierce in me with kids. Was that the question?
There is no question. And I know my mother said to me once, just wait until your children have grown and they aren't living in your house anymore. She said, the best way I can describe it to you is that there's a limb of my body that's out walking around the world. And I feel it still. And it's like my body too. And it's out in the world. And
Yes, that's exactly it. She nailed it. Yep.
It's funny. I feel, and I do think the Papa Bear is a little different because I kind of feel like, off you go.
Oh,
look at you by yourself. I'm so proud.
Well, you know what? You do have that. You do the kindergarten dance when they get on the bus, right?
Oh my God!
Every time they go off. But then
I was the leader of the camp dance. Absolutely. Because honestly, what I feel like if I'm doing what I feel like part of my role is that they can go off and they are capable and they do have the tools. You know, I've either kind of done my job and I've equipped them with some tools that they can utilize. And I just feel that going back to what you were saying about how they just come in with their own, in some ways, I don't want to impede that journey of theirs by just dumping all of my mind shit and everything else. Sorry, stuff. Whatever. But all of that onto them. I don't want to put all of that onto them because they seem to have really come out with a trajectory. Like, I don't know. And so to me, there was a great thing you said one time where it's like, we're not building a chair. We're helping to tend a garden. And so we might pull a weed here, or perhaps there's some planting strategically here to allow the growth of that plant. But it's not ever going to be right. You know, I'm not ever going to get it fixed. So
there is no fixing.
Right, exactly.
There's just admiring all the bounty.
Yes.
Right?
Speaking of bounty, the big brown truck of happiness has arrived.
What's that?
It's a UPS. I just joke because my dog's going to go all silly now, but I call it the big brown truck of happiness because it just, when it arrives, it's like, Yay!
Packages.
It's a present.
Boys. Well, I know I would love to take a little time and talk about this project that we're working on together, because it's one of the things that I am most excited for this, fall season of like really getting back to work. And when you reached out to me with this already unbelievable feeling that you had about, and the story of how it came to be, this work that came out of the present moment experience for you, that now is like growing into something bigger. Would you mind sharing a little bit about this moment in your life and about what you kind of spontaneously created? And
Yeah, I would love to. Thank you. So in January 2019, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And as anybody who receives a diagnosis like that, it's devastating. And after I had surgery, I had a lumpectomy, and I I remember coming out of it and feeling like, there's such a great community of people that, I am so blessed to have. And, so much of it was like, yay, warrior, you got this, sister, rise up, and you're strong and you're powerful. And yes. And I know so many people, like offering help and things like that. But, there was a part of me that needed to like take care of myself. Like, and so I was, I needed some resources that I just felt like I wasn't there for what I needed. I and I created it myself. So every day from the day that I had after post surgery, for about 14 days, I think it was, maybe a little bit longer. I'm not sure. I recorded videos for myself. So this was back in 2019. I did it on my phone. I just set my phone up and I just did a little video, and I just did myself meditating. I videoed myself meditating, or I did some movements, and I recorded videos that I wanted to see, that I wanted I just wanted to click on my computer and see somebody else saying that to me. And I just did it for myself. Just, this is what I need, so I'm going to give it to myself. And after my healing, and I wanted to do something with it, and I didn't know what to do with it. And I went around, I had my radiation treatments at Northwell, and so I asked a few people there, and my breast surgeon and my oncologist, and like a lot of different people, like, would you want something like this? I don't know. And they were like, oh, this sounds wonderful. But I don't know if I didn't go forward with it, or so I just kind of held on to them. And I guess I don't even know how it happened. Did I call you? Did I email you? I don't know what I did, but or I don't know how it even happened.
I don't remember
Did
either.
we connect in some way? I'm not even really sure. But it was
Just
like, oh wait, maybe United We Own would like this.
Yeah, it's just like, I don't know. I usually remember how things come to be, but I don't remember how it came to be that you and I, sat down on Zoom together to talk about it. But I
Oh,
do
I remember.
Yes.
I remember now. I did a
Good.
fundraiser over Christmas.
Yes.
And
Oh, yes.
Matt wrote me a thank you note, and then you guys called me.
Yes.
And you left me this message, the two of you, on my voicemail, and I was like, oh, I was so excited to talk to you. And I called you, and that's when it just came up. It was like, let's work together.
Yes.
What could we do? Let's do something.
Yes.
And that's when that all came to fruition. So yeah, so it was like 8 months ago, or whatever it was. Yeah.
Yes. And I feel so grateful to the Elyce from those 2 years ago for taking action on creating those videos, because I just know that particularly now with anybody who feels immune compromised, you know, talk about lack of access to practice, you know, in general. And then we can add on the layer of, you know, the framework that you've created really enlightened for me how specific this journey is of, you know, receiving diagnosis and, you know, like being in these waiting moments in between learning things and having things happen. And then what healing, I remember you saying to me on the phone when we talked about it, and then they were like, you're good, you're healed. And I was like, it doesn't feel like I'm done, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
it feels like it's not going to end. And how do I live in a space now where I'm healed, but I'm still healing? And I think it's so unique. And I'm so excited for us to work together on this, you know, series of practices and video that we can share with anybody who, you know, is having this experience or had it in the past, like you said,
Mm-hmm.
and just never was able to process it in their body and their breath and their mind this way. I think the impact is just tremendous.
Yeah, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity to be able to expand on what this was. Like you're right, like hearing a diagnosis, waiting for the procedure, what happens afterwards. Like there are so many different stages within the whole process, and that it's not done when they say you're done. That there's still healing, there's still the wound, and just because they took it out and that they did some treatments for you to physically, you know, get rid of it for you, there's still that feel. There may not be for some people. I mean, again, everybody's a little bit different. I remember going in for the radiation treatment and one of the techs saying to me, oh, it's just energy, you won't feel anything. I was like, really? You don't feel energy? I just thought that was
Finger in
such
a
a
light
strange
socket.
thing
Tell me
to
if you feel
say,
energy.
right? So,
Oh man.
you know, there's so many implications and so many layers to it, and I feel like, and people who experience it in so many different ways. So I feel like I again, you okay?
I'm good. I swallowed down the wrong pipe.
Okay. I just feel really grateful for the opportunity to offer like a broad range of experiences within this platform, a broad range of opportunities for people to dive in, whether it's breast cancer or something else. I mean, I think that any kind of you know, traumatic physical experience or could really benefit from something like this. Any kind of injury, illness that people
so
go
authentic.
through, I think will really.
And the great stuff comes from inside you. You know, like you said, I wanted to create something that I wanted to see, and that's the stuff that's magic. You know, when we found, like, when you sit down and you're like, I'm going to create a program for people who are, or whatever, you're coming already from this outside third perspective, and you're trying to sort of imagine what do they need. And so it's been my experience over and over with United We Own, when somebody is offering this because it's something that they wanted and they wish they could have had, those are the ones that just change the world. So we're just beyond excited, and on a personal level, it's a really beautiful time for this to happen. And so I'm really grateful. I'm really excited, and I think that it's the start of something really special. You know, it's also something that I think that the time that you've had will offer perspective that will allow you to deepen it even further. You know, with that ability to look back, sort of like you're talking about in the general. And so we're really feeling blessed to have this as a thing. And anyway.
Thank you. No, I feel so grateful to be a part of this community of United We Own. You know, yesterday when we were talking and I was saying, you guys, and you were like, stop, like, it's us. I love the way that you embrace the community, you embrace teachers, you embrace the people that are watching, that are benefiting from it as your community, as our community. I feel like it doesn't even feel, it's our community. And it just, thank you for that. Thank you for that generosity, for that inclusivity, for that
Mm.
welcoming.
Well, I know that I'm going to really take so much that we spoke about today with I always know whenever we have a conversation what the things are that like for the next forever Matt and I are going to be like talking about together and with our children, and it's going to become a part of United We Own. And I already can feel that this idea of welcoming ourselves that you shared with all of us today is so profound and so perfectly simple in the most magnificent way. And Elyce also was so generous to record 3 beautiful meditations that are going to be up at the link in our bio, probably within the next hour or two. And then you'll be able to find them on our YouTube. So if you're listening to this far in the future away from August of 2021, you can just pop over to the United We Own YouTube and practice with her as soon as this is over. And is there other ways that we can find you, that we can join you in practice? What are you up to, and how can we and others connect with you?
Yeah, so I'm teaching classes. All of my classes are virtual right now, and you can find everything on Elyce Yoga Dance. So that ElyceYogaDance.com is my website. The platform's there, and all of my classes are on there. I'll teach workshops every now and then. A self-care collective that I have that's ongoing. That's 21 days of 10-minute meditation practices for your personal self-care. And yeah, so that's the way you can connect. Just find me there.
Amazing. I know we didn't even get to talk about dance, and I always say to Matt and Leah, we're always saying like, okay, like every single one of these needs a part 2 and a part 3, and I'm sure that we'll tap you for more, because I just don't. I feel like I barely scratched the surface of it. I just want to keep going and going and going. Yes, the dance and the meditation and amazing. Well, I'm going to go to ElyceYogaDance.com. Believe it. I'm very excited for my own personal growth and practice.
Great. I look forward to seeing you there.
Yes, you will. And enjoy for all of us, and keep sending us all of these beautiful learnings that you're experiencing out on your wilderness adventures and your boondocking, conditions. It's so inspiring. It's really inspiring, and I'm grateful for how much you take time to share with all of us, like those beautiful moments that you experience and realizations you have. They're not lost. I know, like for all of us, to have those little droplets come down can always just have a huge impact on my day. So thank you for sharing it with us, and not, and not being selfish with it, letting us all know what it is. It's beautiful.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for having me. And thank you for all you do. Talk about inspiring. The two of you have inspired so many, me included, so much beauty that you've put out into this world. And I am just so grateful to know the two of you, to have you in my lives as my friends and collaborators. So thank you. Deep, deep gratitude from my heart.
And
thank you,
I love you both.
We love you. This was a lot of fun. Thank you for sharing. I'm glad.
Thank you, everybody.
It was really
that
fun.
was here. Yes, now live. Everybody that's been here with us in your own home, wherever you are. We love you too. We welcome you too. And here's to the beginning of many more moments all together, all of us.
Great. All right. See you soon.
Be well, Elyce. Take
you
care.
You too. Bye, Matt. Bye, Jenny. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.